Snow White was always my favorite fairy tale. My mom used to read it to me every night, and I couldn't go to sleep without it. Our copy was one that my mom had picked up in an antiques shop when she was pregnant with me. It was a thin book bound in leather with beautiful illustrations. The jealous queen gazing into her magic mirror, the huntsman standing over Snow White, holding a knife, the 7 dwarves' cottage, the hideous hag of a witch, her claw-like hand clutching a juicy red apple. My favorite was the one at the end of Snow White in her coffin. Hair as black as ebony, skin as white as snow, and lips as red as blood. That was what the story said, and that was what the picture showed, but the artist had added other things. Eyes as blue as forget-me-nots, a body as thin as a Barbie doll, and cheeks as red as roses. She was the most beautiful thing I'd ever seen. I wanted to be her, but it was impossible. I looked nothing like Snow White when I was a little girl. My hair was brown. My skin was brown. My lips were brown. Add that to the fact that I had inherited my mother's curvy figure, and you can see why I felt depressed whenever I looked into a mirror. I remember I once went to a dinner party with my mom, and all the guests commented on me. "Is this your daughter? She's so tall." "She'll break hearts." "I'd kill for those cheekbones." "Her hair is so beautiful. What style is that? I'll have to try it." Well, I sat there and scowled. They were lying, I knew, and though they were polite lies, they were still lies. Lies that fueled my mother's delusion that I was perfect as I was. Of course, I know now that I was wrong. Those women weren't lying. They just didn't know the truth. How could they when they were so ugly themselves? How could the hostess, with her garish red hair and freckles, recognize true beauty? How could her husband, with his blonde hair and watery blue eyes, see real perfection? How could my mother, my double, ever see me as anything but a pretty little girl? How could the other guests? If they were all happy with their own imperfections, then of course they were okay with mine. My mom refused to let me get plastic surgery or even wear contacts or blood-red lipstick. By the time I left home, I had given up all hope of looking like Snow White. Snow White's father was a man I met in a bar one night. We talked, we drank, we hooked up, and a few weeks later, I found out I was pregnant. The moment I learned that my baby was a girl, I sold my flat. Now we live in a cottage in the countryside, away from everyone else. I know now that ordinary people can't understand perfection. They would never let me make Snow perfect, so they can't know about her. Changing her hair color is the easiest thing. I only have to do it once a month. The contacts used to be difficult to get on her eyes when she was a baby, and she kept squirming. But now she puts them on herself every morning. We still have fights over the body paint, though. She says it burns her skin and screams when I rub it on her. Sleeping pills are hard to get, so I don't use them on her unless physical force has failed. It's happening more and more lately now she's getting older. The blood-red lipstick isn't a struggle anymore, but she has to keep reapplying it. She smudges it whenever she eats, though now that's only once a day. She was getting too fat to be the girl in the picture. I needed to restrict her diet. The dab of blusher on each cheek only takes a moment. Then my Snow White is ready for the day. It's her birthday today. She's 7 years old. And on the 7th year, the magic mirror said, "Thou art not the fairest in the land, for Snow White is truly that." And the queen saw that it was true. I promised her a birthday surprise, and it came this morning. I've just called her, and I can hear her running into the room. She's stumbling a lot. The drugs must be taking effect. I put them in her morning apple. I thought it was appropriate. When my mother talks about my love for Snow White, she always says that when I was a little girl and she read it to me, I always cried at the ending, because then I wouldn't be able to hear it again for another night. According to her, I never told her that she was mistaken, that I wasn't crying because the story ended. I was crying because of how it ended. My tears were for poor Snow White, who had been forced to leave her exquisite glass coffin and rejoin the living, to have her ebony black hair grow gray, her snow white skin wrinkle, her blood-red lips shrink. My Snow White won't have to suffer that. No Prince Charming will wake her from her enchanted sleep. I've been Googling methods of preservation for months. I've ordered all the things I need off the dark web. My Snow White lies in her glass coffin as I write, her hair as black as ebony, her skin as white as snow, and her lips as red as blood.